You came to Charleston, it was a reminder that like we have our own, we do for ourselves. We would have had a say so to it because there's not one person that I meet that is in favor of what's going on.
I am an island warrior. Don't you forget, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
So the island, what does the island mean to me? The island, for those of you that don't know, I'm from a place called Johns Island, South Carolina. And it means a tremendous amount, honestly. It's always been that escape from the real world, all the nonsense, the chaos, the back and forth, the rat race. And not to say real life wasn't happening here, but the people make the place, the environment. They set the tone for it. And, being raised in the military, when you're out in different states, especially when it's like so far away from your tribe of people, you have to adapt, you have to pick up on things as you go. But the island was always like, it was like a dream, because in the real world, everything was so mixed up. You had all different type of races of people. And when you came to Charleston, it was a reminder that like we have our own, we do for ourselves. Coming up, looking up to my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, and everybody that was familiar with the family. It was again like a dream. Childhood memories, coming home for the summer, and all of the aunts and uncles were on accord when it was, moving the right way, and all the cousins would be at Granny house for the summer. Like those were, as I'm sure a lot of you all can relate, those were like some of the greatest memories that I'll ever have in this life. And the nostalgia is so real that you're currently stuck in the middle of trying to bring the good times back, or wondering what happened, why we don't do certain things. And I know this isn't reality for all families, and my family, we're still connected, but it was a lot that happened at Granny house, Granddaddy house. From my vantage point, my granddaddy was, he had retired by the time I was born, but he had businesses that he ran, took care of a lot of people, and it was just a no-brainer. Like summertime, I'm coming home to work with granddaddy. He had a landscaping thing going on, and he would let me man the ship. Like I was looking back, I was the youngest, and I would ride the big lawnmowers. I would ride the zero turns. Like I'm a main cog in the engine. The equation. So he never held me back from that, and that was a big thing that I tie into my home, is that there was so much restriction in real time, like when we're out at home in the world, Maryland, Oklahoma, wherever we were, with your parents, so much restriction that when we came home and we were under granny them supervision, it's not that they let us run amok, but the upbringing, the contrast had us in position at a young age that it was like we had more freedom to do things, and the not wanting to let your grandparents down or your people down is what kept you in check when you were skating on the edge or whatever. So I just remember being able to work, save money as a youngster, buy school clothes, buy things I wanted for the next school year. Being with family, being with cousins, every weekend we cooking out, people, friends and families coming in and out, you know, those were the highlights of being on Johns Island, you know, in Charleston in general. To me, from my perspective, things may have not have been perfect, but it was mainly just us, our tribe, our people, and the close-knittedness was something that was refreshing to me. Again, growing up in other places, the way that everybody knew one another. You know, I used to think it was a certain point in time I thought my granddaddy was famous, just at how much love would come his way when I'm with him through the day-to-day and the amount of people he knew. I thought he was famous. I think one time I ain't asked him, but I was right on the back of the truck. I was like, man, I wonder why the news ain't come and interview my granddaddy yet. Like, that's how much, you know, joy and pride that I had looking up to my grandfather. And, you know, all of the other heroes that came along and, you know, people that I still hold in high regard even to this day based off of just seeing them growing up. So I always thought everything was better in Charleston, Johns Island. I always wanted to be on Johns Island. And I guess experiencing the contrast and what the lifestyle was like, to see what's going on right now, a large part of my heart and energy is tied up into those affairs and those concerns. It's fitting because this isn't just about the album or whatever I'm promoting, but this next project is really gonna start to tell my perspective on all of this. We got a single coming out called It's True, and I say all the time, if this is the last song I ever put out, it would have been worth it, because as an artist, I think that song embodies who K.O.J.I is more so than any other song that I've ever made. The song features another island legend, Donnie Triplett, my family, my brother. And yeah, that all that's to come, but it's kind of, I brought it up because that's the epitome of what I feel about the island and what it means to me, but I know it's not out yet. So just seeing everything that's happening right now, how you have a whole wave of people, it almost in my mind feels like there was supposed to have been a meeting, you know, where representatives met with the people who have always been here, whether history tells them that or not, whether they realize it, or they've been here long enough at least to have instilled an ebb and flow and a way of life and a culture. A people with a very decorated history that's not talked about enough. It's almost as if there's a concerted effort to keep our holiness, meaning our being set apart, in a way that in the real world, if you were just black, you were just black. And I know people know where they come from, but down here it was known we are different people. You know? To see what's happening right now and to sense that we haven't banded together or we don't have anything in place to at least have said, no, we don't want this. Or if there was some type of expansion, we would have had a say-so to it, because there's not one person that I meet that is in favor of what's going on. So me just being really out there and connected to so many people, my singularity of mind will lead me to ask people what they feel about it. Bring it up, you know, we talk about it. Like I said, there's not one person. There's some people, I talking to my cousin, she from up the road, And she was like, I don't even come on Jones Island no more. Like, she's one of them people where you know she only gonna say it if she mean it. When she mean it, you gonna know she mean it. She was like, I don't even come, on the island no more. The whole vibe has changed. It ain't the same. It's true. And I think what it mainly is that we're all feeling is like a disrespect, an underlying disrespect, and a helplessness of not knowing exactly what to do. Because if we all knew that there was something we could do, I'm pretty sure all of us would do it. Now, occasionally you have your people who will try to look optimistically like, oh, well, it's just expansion. This gas station over here is good for the island. Even though all of the gas stations we had, they no longer exist. So it's literally not even just an expansion. It's like completely taking out landmarks and things that we cherish away. And then you replace it with what you want to replace it with. They closed down Mount Zion. And then they're putting a school on River Road, which is a roundabout on River Road. Like the longest two-way street, this canopy with trees, beautiful road that'll snatch your soul if you let it. You play with that road if you want to. But they have put a roundabout in the middle of it for a big school. And somebody told me there was a vote whether to honor an island legend, Mr. Esau Jenkins, or name it like St. John's Elementary or something. And they named it St. John's Elementary. So it's another layer of just erasing what was here. And I just can't help but feel like at this rate, with no voice, no rallying point, there's people out there doing things. Don't get it twisted. So no disrespect to them. But I'm saying there should have been a day out of the month that we all meet and discuss things. There should be representation for this set apart people with this set apart history. We should have had some type of representation or some type of togetherness to at least let our stance be known that this is not what we want. This is not what we expect. Because it feels like we're just being blotted out. There's reports that say like we went from 70% so-called black to now like 30%. And it's just the sheer number of people who have turned this Canopy Haven into a pre-terraformed, like a little city. Like it's not supposed to be that. And I've had my own battles with fighting in land, about land in court, dealing with, let's just call them colonizers, like dealing with that certain energy in and out of court. And there is a certain level of corruption in this city to allow these things to happen that's alarming. So the island means so much to me, man. It's honestly given a purpose to the whole the journey. Because doing this back then, I never thought that I would be in position to have a voice, the talents, the skills, the concern to be able to go and record my own things and document this. Be in this position, I don't take it for granted. There are a lot of things coming. There are a lot of things coming regarding the transformation. So honestly, I have to do certain things and reason with myself, because the route I was going, it probably would have totally consumed me. So I'm going through a period of understanding my limitation, because I've done everything possibly that I could possibly do to do my part in saving certain family pieces of land and waking up people around me and trying to rally people together to support one another, only to see the faces of corruption in full. And it's a power thing. So with that being said, I choose to consult the most purest form of power, and that's the source. Whether you want to call it God or whatever, I say the source. I say the source is within. I don't try to look to anything outside of me to satisfy these things. So the greatest ill, not only like before I get to that, it's almost like I had to conclude that instead of worrying about what's being taken over, I might need to look ahead at what's to come. Whether that's a total transformation and then these people no longer exist, or whatever else it entails. It's definitely made me more aware of certain limitations, even though there are no limitations. I firmly believe that if we all strengthen numbers, man, if we had a rallying point, we can make some things happen. We can get some questions answered. We discovered that a lot of things, even though there's a lot of us giving it up willingly, there's a lot of things that isn't supposed to be happening, you know? So over time, I've realized more purpose in music. It all happened in phases. At first, I always had a certain standard about me, but I would make songs that were more trivial, you know, like this money, cars, sex, clothes, and all of that. And I would do that, but over time, I've shedded those layers, and I'm only in position to use my voice to create things to fight what's happening, what I don't like, you know? And I'm honored to be in that position to represent this island in whatever capacity that I can. I don't worry about ageism. I don't worry about being famous, none of that, because I understand that the same thing that sparked me to want to do this is the same thing that has me in position to do this. And that is represent and defend the people of this island. Because before, you know, the land is the land, but if we stick together, no matter where we go, we'll make it what it is. So it's a lot of lessons being learned within it. And I don't want to say what I don't have, but I know that when I feel like I can't get justice in court, I see what's happening to my homeland. I see my people don't have enough togetherness to even say anything because we're all chasing our personal endeavors. Or if there's just some spiritual thing happening that I'm late to the party on. All I know is it's helped me to get in contact with the most powerful of sources that lies within. And I've realized that beyond the court, beyond money, beyond buying my way to break or uphold the law, I can ask for nature to be on my side. I can ask for the source to work. And ever since that realization has happened, honestly, I've seen a response to those cries. So the island seems like it's under siege. Who knows what the future will hold? But I know that in this moment in time, what the island means to me has me documenting what's going on, telling the truth, creating a voice and an outlet, or doing my part for my people to be able to say how they feel. And hopefully over time we can realize that together, you know, our collective voices, our collective input, our concern, just showing up. That's all we really got to do, is show up in certain places in numbers. And that'll move mountains in the spiritual realm, which will cause mountains to be moved out here. So the island means everything to me, man. Imagine your home, people just moving in your house, adding on to it, changing things. Don't even acknowledge that you're here. Act like you haven't been here. You know, it's kind of eerie. Because when I go into stores and I see these historical books highlighting all the towns that make up Charleston, it's always represented by people who came here, like weren't here. And they're the one telling the story about everybody. You are this, you come from this, and we just run with that. But I call it the Tupac theory, and no disrespect to M, but it's like there's a certain group of people, his support system would have him labeled as a rap god. And although he is supreme at what he does, and you just take it for what it is, I kind of side with Lord Jamar, feeling like you're just a guest. So why that's important is because we understand who has been controlling the narrative. So here's the thing, the same way they did Christ, even though there wasn't supposed to be any images made of him, there's a depiction. Enough people perish, enough systems were invaded or taken over to where they could get away with painting a pale-faced Christ image and then tell everybody, the world, the next generations, is that is the image of Christ. So who's to say in 100 years, when everybody who knows better is gone, they won't say Eminem was Tupac? And then over time steal legacy. That's kind of like what feels like on a small scale what's happening here. They're going to build all this stuff up, push all the people out, and then go on to tell a story like this is how John's Island has been. And then the little remnants of information that lets you know who Tupac really was, they might be calling Tupac Eminem. And then you'll have people saying, nah, man, they switched the story. And then they'll be labeled conspiracy theorists if we don't write this shit. So anyway, I don't want to digress. The island means a lot to me, man. I love my people. I think that's what led me to be in certain situations where the exchange wasn't as mutual as it could have been, because they operating on a different type of time, some of them. But my heart never allowed me to see that, because I remember what it was like watching my grandfather and his peers and so on and so forth, how they interacted. They always looked out for one another. And like I said, it wasn't to say they didn't have their issues, but there was a certain backing of love to where things would only go so far. Everybody knew one another. You were going to look out for each other. Like every other car that passed on the road, you were chunking the deuces, you know? That's being lost. I'll say this, I'll close out with this. We were at a family gathering not too long ago, and one of my older cousins, all the great-grands, granny-great-grands, granddaddy them great-grands was playing on the porch. And they were all talking, and my cousin, he was like, damn, boy, everybody proper? And it was funny in the moment, but me, I'm never not thinking as deep as I can. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's it. They are proper. And that accent, that way of talking, since we're being blotted out and divided, like and sending our kids to their schools, and like it could potentially be lost, just like our identity, our homeland. You know, it's a lot to think about, and it's uber disrespectful to all the people moving in here. It's disrespectful. I don't know what y'all think about it, what you feel, but things aren't supposed to change to adapt to the influx of your invasion. Like they're trying to take up a large piece of my grandmother's front yard to add more lanes, but not considering that it's going to make it tougher, give her more anxiety to try to get out. She already complains about that. But the thing is, the lady next door already sold out, but they never even came and talked to us about anything. We had to call. Luckily, neighbors talking. We had to call them. And they said they were supposed to reach out within 2 weeks. That was like a month ago. So they do little underhanded things, expecting us to not represent, not say anything, not know, not have the resources to match them in their legal systems that are all in favor of this major overhaul. This is gentrification, man. This is a continuance of the Gullah Wars. That's what John's Island means to me. So if they've taken everything physically from me, I have to realize that the power was never external. It's internal. So what a time to be in position to know how to create records, document things, how to speak. What a time to be in this position. I take it as an honor, and I'm going to tell it how it is, regardless. I'm going to tell it how it is, because there's no way you're just going to think we don't understand the game. This paper genocide that's been going on ever since we kicked your asses during the Gullah Wars. You had to revolutionize your plan, your theory. So you came up with the paper genocide, and now this war tactic has expanded into gentrification. And you know that we are people of nature, even if we don't know it. And under the name of destroying our terrain and cutting down all our trees, our connections and stuff, you call it growth expansion. And, we see it as colonizations for all your cookie cutter neighborhoods. So I do know people who have moved here that I'm relatively cool with. But just know you're a part of great crimes that have been committed. And I don't know. I'm not going to measure everybody's heart on the same scale. But you have to understand what you have disrupted and what you are taking apart and destroying. There were people here. There was a way of life here. There was no traffic here before this implosion. So to continue to destroy our homelands for your benefit, few of us might benefit, get a little job at one of the gas stations, but for your benefit, your amusement, your leisure, and just wipe us out, no questions asked, that's something that's going to be paid for. And you already see it in the reflection of what nature's doing. It's going to continue to get worse until the wrongs that have been done are corrected. And I don't think that there's going to be any correction willingly. So there will be a removal. That's just that's take it for whatever you want to take it. It's happening. This is what I've been saying for years. This is what has led me to hold on to these abilities that I have, essentially fighting for this island and the people on it. Understanding that there are other places that make up this city of Charleston, and there are other leaders that will emerge. And we will cause a new wave. We will elevate the consciousness of our people together to either magically shift this paradigm into a new reality, a new promised land, or again, do what we have to do. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go too far, but silent means everything to me, as I'm sure it does to a lot of my people. Our voice has been stepped on, silenced. So here's to hopefully starting a trend for other islanders, other Charlestonians who are being affected by gentrification and all the other things going on in the city. Speak up, speak out, rally your people together. And the more and more we do that and show each other it's okay to be concerned about this and it's okay to not like it, your 5 meet my 5, meet their 10 and whatever, and then we come together and we got a movement. But we have to represent ourselves. We have to stand up for ourselves. And that's what I feel like I'm doing. Here's to the old Johns Island and the new one to come.
My every battle's won and the table said it's true. Yeah, it's true. Oh, yeah.